First, let us ask ourselves the following question, two questions. Why to succeed and who succeeds? So, why? Well, why? The answer is very simple. Suffering does not feel good. So, you want to succeed in the path because you want to experience happiness and terminate suffering. That's not the only reason, but it's good enough, right? The second thing is who succeeds in the path of Advaita or in any spiritual path? And the answer is no one. There is success, yes. Who succeeds? That entity that we imagine that it is somewhere in the mind-body system that carries your name as so-and-so does not exist. So that entity cannot attain awakening, liberation, enlightenment, because it's not there. And because awakening is in fact the seeing clearly that thing, that entity isn't there. That is just based on imagination, thoughts, and feelings. Around those thoughts, around that imagination. So, but still, there is value in succeeding in the spiritual path. So let's go there. I will list a few things that I think they are crucial to succeed in this path, which is slightly different than other paths, as we will see. Most of the points that we will look into, they can be put under one umbrella, one big word, and it is seriousness, meaning you got to be serious about the path. You cannot be wishy-washy or casual. You got to take it seriously. I'm not kidding. Your heart has to be there. As in other paths, it is said, you got to have devotion for the goal, the desire for the goal. So you got to be serious about the path. If you are flirting with it and, watching a video here and there and reading a little book, that's fine, but it's very unlikely that will give you awakening. Even awakening, which is the first step. Because awakening is not liberation from suffering. It is a stepping stone, a valuable, very valuable stepping stone. But to attain awakening, the experience here, I don't know about other people, but I had to be pretty serious about it. And I'm going to share a little bit more on this respect. So when you are serious about the goal, you devote time to the goal. So you may consider devoting some time every day to these two goals, awakening and liberation. And your seriousness is reinforced by giving time to the goal. And at the same time, your commitment, your seriousness helps you to put time into it. So it goes back and forth. Next point. Be willing to change. If you want to succeed in this path, you got to be willing to change. And that is valid also in regard to healing. If you want to heal, let's say you go to psychotherapy. If you don't want to change, you're wasting your time. You got to be willing to change your thinking, your beliefs, your feelings, anything that stands on the way between you and awakening, anything that is obstructing, any negativity that is obstructing the attainment of awakening, the attainment of liberation has to go. You have to be willing to let go, to change. Yes, it's a paradox, I know. Some teachers will tell you, oh, you are okay the way you are. Some psychotherapists too. Oh, you're fine the way you are. Okay. Well, but there is some stuff there that is making you suffer. Otherwise, you wouldn't even go to therapy or look for the spiritual awakening. So be willing to let go of those things. Anyway, even if you are okay the way you are. Embrace the paradox. The next one is live a balanced life. Cut the extremes. It's called also the middle path in Buddhism. It's great advice. Avoid extremes. You don't need to become a celibate monk where your whole life is about discipline. No. Neither you can become a hedonist that has no reins and is indulging in unrestrained way the pleasures of the senses and anything else. That extreme is bad news if you are in that situation. You will need to begin to pull the reins and bring your life to a point where the extremes are out. These extremes are very detrimental to the spiritual path. It is okay to drink a glass of wine, but it is not okay to drink a bottle of wine. It's going to damage your brain. It is okay to enjoy social life and be with friends and so on, but if that is the center of your life, being socializing all the time, well, you will not have time to be in the presence. You don't need to be a fully introverted individual, but being completely extroverted and in constant social life, that's not going to work either. So cut the extremes. Next one. In the path of Advaita, the goals are two, and they are in a sequence. It's different than other spiritual paths in this regard. First, you focus into attaining awakening, and then from there, you want to attain liberation after awakening has been revealed to you, after awakening has happened. So, in the first part of the path, focus intensely in trying to get awakening. Why? Because it will make the rest of the path more relaxed, more effective, and more enjoyable. It will really help you to know, clearly what you are and what you're not. And this is a distinct aspect of the Advaita path. In other paths, the focus is more about the very end only, liberation from suffering, final enlightenment, never coming back to the human state. So in this initial effort to get awakening, which I wouldn't call it effort, I would call it commitment. In this commitment, use the power of intention to potentiate your desire, your devotion, because it's this desire, this devotion what brings results. So how you can use the power of intention to do that? Well, you grab any alchemical substance. Water is an alchemical substance, wine possibly, and you grab a glass of water and you look at it and you affirm a few times, I want to wake up, I want to wake up, or to awakening, with feeling behind the affirmation. And then you picture that this idea is entering into the substance, and then you drink it, and you imagine that it's going into all your body cells. And you do this little ritual every day. It will go on potentiating your desire for awakening, making you more serious about it. And that's exactly where you want to be, because without devotion, and this is a sentence from Yogananda that is pretty interesting. He says, without devotion, you cannot take even the first step. And it is true. Think about it. Without the desire for ending suffering, the spiritual path, or knowing God, call it whatever way you want. But without that desire, you wouldn't have read the first book. You wouldn't have taken the first step. Is that desire what led you to take the first steps into the spiritual path? Is that desire what is keeping you insisting on how can I get awakening? How can I get liberation? So potentiate that desire. That desire is what is going to bring success. Then you may say, well, Yogananda was a bhakti yogi. And yes, he was a Raya Yoga practitioner, but he had obviously a strong bhakti component in his teachings. But if you look into Philip Kapleau, you read his book, which is called The Three Pillars of Zen, one of the best books on Zen. And there he says the same also. He talks about a student, a lady that is very sick in bed, but she is fully enlightened, and he praises her. And he says, she has such devotion. Again, devotion, even in Zen, right? You may think, oh, Zen is very cold and it's about, 8 hours sitting on the cushion, Zen, and no, it's about the intensity of the heart, devotion. Now the next one is to avoid being overly serious to a point where you develop spiritual anxiety. So keep in mind the humor of the whole thing. What is the humor? that you are already that all of us are already that. We are all already consciousness. You just have to see it. So that is the joke, the incredible joke. And the me and the I, it's already dead. It's not real. It's a fantasy. So the ego is already dead. You don't have to kill it. It's dead already. You got to let go of the thoughts and feelings around that conform that thing. Yes, quite a few of them, you better let go of them. But that thing, the ego, is imagination. So the big joke is that you are already enlightened in a way. We all are. So don't forget this as you walk, so that you don't get spiritual anxiety. Don't lose your humor, but be serious. That's the paradox we need to embrace. The next one is do not fear awakening. I have heard so many times, I would like to do the awakening protocol, but I'm afraid what would happen to me if I wake up. Well, it's nonsense. Look, you can't lose what you are already and have always been. Impossible. And you can't lose what you are not and you have never been and you will never be. So there is no way that you can lose except that eventually you will lose your suffering. And all this fear around awakening is nonsense. Life improves after awakening. Next one. Little by little, remove negativity from the mind-body organism. Use whatever method you want. I recommend the surrendering technique, cognitive psychology. These are good tools. Observation. These are excellent tools. But do it. Negative thinking, negative beliefs, negative emotions, negative desires, all that stuff has to go. Addictions. Be serious about removing the negativity from the mind-body system, because I tell you, it's standing on the way. It's not like you are told by some Advaita teachers that, leave that, belongs to the mind-body organism, just realize that you are consciousness. Well, the problem is that the lower the vibration, so to speak, the more sticky it is, and the more clouds your true nature. So, as you see, in the spiritual path, where you're working at raising your vibration, why that works too? Because as you raise your vibration, the heavy negativity and vibes, you have to let them go. So you raise the vibration, and the chances for you to have a glimpse of true nature go on increasing. At the same time, if you are serious about the very, very end of the path, which is liberation, which requires to be in the presence 24/7, I tell you, you got to let go of all the negativity anyway. So work at that. The opposite approach, cultivating the positive, is also a good idea. Yes, cultivate positive thoughts, positive attitudes, positive emotions, positive friendships. be careful with the environment, make sure you are surrounded by people that help you in the spiritual path, because environment is more powerful than willpower. It's more powerful than discipline. So make sure you have friends that support you in this work, because they too have high vibes. So practice appreciation and thankfulness. This elevates your thinking, your feeling, and that makes it more likely that you will have an awakening. And finally, I would recommend that you get help. Don't think that this is so easy and immediate, that you're going to read some books and you will make it. No, that's not too serious either. If you want to learn to drive a car, to drive an airplane or a boat, you get an instructor, right? Well, this is similar. In order to move forward efficiently, we usually need a coach, instructor, call it whatever way you want, teacher, master, doesn't matter. In Advaita, the relationship between teacher and student is very informal. Has little to do or nothing with the guru-disciple relationship that the Hindus talk about. But the experience here, and I have shared it before with in YouTube, was that I was stuck. I couldn't make it. I couldn't get awakening, and I had read many books and watched many videos and gone to retreats and satsangs, but it was not happening. So one day I heard a teacher saying that in his tradition, the awakening is passed from teacher to disciple. And the thought came, well, this is the only thing I haven't tried, so I'm going to try it. I'm going to hire somebody. And when I arrived home after that retreat, a couple of days later, I got an email from a teacher that was offering kind of coaching sessions around awakening. And he was living very nearby, so he began to come every week to our apartment. And after 6 months of working with him, it happened. And the awakening was very clear that insight was not a normal insight, because awakening is an insight, but it's not there are many little insights in life. Awakening is a huge insight. And it was very clear, this is not a normal insight, and it's life transforming. So yes, it was necessary, a coach in my case, or a teacher was necessary. So my recommendation would be get help. And for the next part of the journey, which is after awakening, is the embodiment of awakening. Same thing. I worked with him for 3 years. And of course, that's a longer journey. It's said that the Buddha it took him a few years to wake up, and it took him 40 years to embody awakening. So that is a long journey. And in the case of this mind-body system, it continues. It began in 2012, so that's 13 years ago, and still is going on. So be prepared. Don't think that you're going to get awakening and it's over. No, that's very rare. Maybe that happens to some individuals, but it wasn't my experience. After awakening, you got to keep working at letting go of stuff that is not your. It is in the mind-body system. That's one aspect of the work, and the other one is insisting in being in the presence, or resting as awareness, you could call it. So that's it. I hope this helps. That at least one of the points rings true to you and say, yes, I'm going to implement this. And I leave you my email below in case you want to contact me. And I will also write down there a promotion I have for my teaching sessions or coaching sessions, a promotion I have to the end of October 2025. So have a good one. Bye.